Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video because we are finally talking about my 2023 5-star predictions. So I started doing this last year where I chose a list of that year's new releases that I think are going to be 5 stars for me. And it ended up working out really well for 2022. So I will link how it worked out up in the cards and down below, where I reflect back on all of the books that I thought would be 5 stars and what I actually rated them. And I did surprisingly well. So I decided to do it again for 2023, and I have 12 books that I think are going to be 5 stars. So let's get right into the list. I do want to quickly preface this by saying that I did just release a most anticipated video, which I will again link up in the cards and down below. And these books, I tried not to overlap them. There are 2 books that overlap because I couldn't not put them on both, but I tried to pick this list first and then choose my remaining most anticipated for that other video. So these are also my most anticipated books. I just think that these ones in particular are going to be have the most likelihood to be 5 stars. So first up is Happy Place by Emily Henry. Emily Henry will always appear on this list. I've given the last 3 of her books 5 stars, so I feel like she has such a good chance of being a constant 5-star author for me. Her writing just works so well for me. Her humor just aligns with mine, so I find all of her books to be really funny and relatable, and this one sounds amazing. This is actually following a couple who recently broke up, and they decide to pretend that they are still together for this big vacation with their friend, and it is their second chance romance. I love a good second chance romance, so I think that this has a really good chance of being another favorite of mine. Another author who I always give 5 stars to is Ali Hazelwood, and Love Theoretically is going to be her 2023 release, and this is another STEMinist story. And this one is following 2 rival physicists. Our heroine is a adjunct professor, and she is not making enough money to survive, so she has a part-time gig where she is a fake girlfriend to people who need it, and her best client has this really grumpy and broody brother, and turns out that he is a new professor at her university, and so now he knows all of her dark secrets about her second job, and the 2 of them have an enemies to lovers Grumpy Sunshine romance. I know that a lot of people have felt like Ali Hazelwood books are pretty repetitive, and that just doesn't bother me at all. I find her books to be really easy, wonderful reads, and I enjoy them every single time, even though they aren't necessarily all that different from each other. I still end up loving them, so I'm hoping that it's the same case with this one. The next book on this list is one of the overlaps, and that is Matic by Onley James. This is quite possibly my most anticipated book of 2023 at the time that I'm filming this. After I read this, I'm sure I will come up with a new most anticipated book, but this one does come out early in the year. So as of right now, this is the book that I am itching to get my hands on. This is the 7th and final book in the Necessary Evil series, and this is the long-awaited romance between Aiden and Thomas, and I cannot wait. This series follows a family of psychopaths, and they have this secret organization where they take out evil men, and I adore the series. It is all of their crazy antics and romances. I have wanted this romance since book 1, and it's finally almost here. This is definitely one that had to overlap. I could not leave it off of either list. And then after that is Highest Bidder by Sarah Kate, which is going to be the 5th book in the Salacious Players Club. As far as I can tell, we don't know who this one follows or have a blurb or anything for this, but I think Sarah has hinted on who the 2 couples are going to be, or who 2 of the people are going to be in the next 2 books. I don't remember. I'm sure I saw it at some point. I just can't remember who it is. I am really excited for more books in the series. I was so excited when she announced that there was going to be more books because I loved the Salacious Bears Club, and it was so sad that it ended. So I'm glad we're getting another 2 books. Of the 4 Salacious Player books that I've read, I've given 3 of them 5 stars, so I think it's a pretty safe bet that this one is going to be a favorite as well. Next is The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by India Holden, and this is book 3 in the Wisteria Society series. Again, I've given the first two books 5 stars, so I completely think that book 3 is going to be 5 stars. I don't know the exact synopsis of this one, but this series is a historical fantasy romance all surrounding this group of women who are pirates as well as their rival witches, and they have magic that can cause anything to fly. And so the pirates fly around houses and the witches fly around on brooms. They make themselves fly. And it is a really, really funny, quirky series that I have completely fallen in love with. And I'm so excited for another book in the series. Again, I don't know who this one follows. I don't know how many books in the series we are going to get, but I will continue to read the series for as long as India Holton allows me to. The one book that I have physically is Something Wild and Wonderful by Anita Kelly. The first book by this author, Love and Other Disasters, was on this list last year, and I ended up giving it 5 stars, so I had to put their next book on this list. This is an road trip romance, which is literally all I know about it. And I talked about this book in my winter TBR because I did put this on my winter TBR, but road trip stories is actually one of my least favorite tropes. However, Love and Other Disasters by this author has a baking competition in it, and I actually hate baking and cooking competition stories, and I loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. So if anyone can convince me to get on board with a road trip romance, I think it's going to be Anita Kelly. So I think this has the potential to be an all-time favorite. So I'm really excited to pick this one up pretty early on in 2023. Another really highly anticipated sequel is Queen of Thieves and Chaos by K.A. Tucker. This is the third book in the Fate of Wrath and Flame series. And again, I've given the first two books in the series 5 stars. I am completely obsessed with it, and I kind of already want to reread the first two books. I read book 1 twice this year already. I kind of want to reread it again. I'm definitely going to reread both books before getting into this one, but this is a like fantasy vampire romance with gods and all kinds of crazy paranormal things. This is my preferred vampire series. I highly recommend giving the series a try, and I'm really excited for book 3. I want it in my hands as soon as possible. Next up is the newest romance from Ashley Poston, and it is called The 7-Year Slip. And I love what Ashley Poston is doing with her adult romances. The Dead Romantics was kind of like a dark horse of mine for 2022. It was such a unique romance, and I absolutely loved it. And this one sounds very unique and different as well. So we're following our heroine, who is a book publicist, and she moves into this new apartment and she ends up falling in love with somebody in the apartment, only it turns out that there is a 7-year time difference between them, and it is their romance, which I just think is such a cool twist on a romance. The Dead Romantics really reminded me of Just Like Heaven, which is a movie that I really, really liked, and this one is totally giving me Lake House vibes. I'm obsessed with this premise. I'm so excited to see what she does with it. So that is definitely a book that I think could be 5 stars and is definitely a most anticipated book of mine. And then the next sequel on this list is Grimm and Barrett by Juliet Cross, and I'm pretty sure this is the final book in the Stay a Spell series, which is absolutely tragic. But this is Clara and Henry's romance, and I am so excited for it. Juliet Cross has said that this needed to be the last book, and I am itching to understand why. I love these two so much. We've already gotten a bunch of like little hints and like glimpses of them throughout the rest of the books, so I'm so excited that it is finally time for their romance. And this is another series that I've given every book 5 stars in, so this is another safe bet on it being 5 stars. And then the final series continuation is If Only You by Chloe Lees, and this is the next book in the Bergman brothers. I believe there's one more after this one, so I don't know whose romance this is. There's no cover or blurb or anything yet. It's just the next book in the Bergman Brothers series, and I've given all of the books in the series either 4 or 5 stars, and I'm just completely in love with this family at this point. And so I pretty much know going in to this series, as well as pretty much any Chloe Lee's book, that I'm going to absolutely love it. And then the very last book on this 5-star prediction is actually a carryover from 2022, because originally this book was supposed to come out in 2022 and then it got pushed back, and that is In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. This is a Pinocchio retelling, which sounds absolutely wild. This cover has me so intrigued. I am so confused by how you make a Pinocchio romance, and I haven't read the synopsis for it because I don't think I want to. But I absolutely adore TJ Klune, and he is another author that I continuously give 5 stars to. However, I haven't read that many TJ Klune books. I've only read Wolfsong and Under the Whispering Door, but I think I trust TJ Klune with the Pinocchio romance. So that is it for my 2023 5-star predictions. Let me know if you plan to read any of these. Let me know if you think any of these are 5 stars, or if you think any of these will definitely not be 5 stars for me. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!